What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. A lot of discussion recently around the all-digital future because that's just kind of the way these companies are trying to push right now. But there's a lot of drawbacks to that, and one in particular really blew up online when people realized how reliant everything is on a singular account that, man, seems to be pretty fragile when it comes to getting banned or security issues, but we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Nintendo with a big Switch 2 exclusive, apparently coming up this holiday. Still waiting for gameplay on it, but apparently we'll be able to play it here pretty soon with a recent update. And we've been hearing a lot about decompilations and games being ported to different platforms. Well, one's popped up now with the Wii actually joining in here, and this one could be pretty big, but also lead to many other projects, but we'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Denshattack. And I've seen this game pop up for a bit here, different shows that would happen, I think like indie shows or anything like that. And it always looked super weird, but actually also very interesting. And it's out now. It came out on all the different platforms. I think it also went into Game Pass even, so it's pretty easy to find. But the reviews, you can see, this over on Metacritic, it's currently coming in at an 88. And I was looking through some of the reviews here, like Eurogamer Germany, who gave it a 100, saying it's packed with ideas, more than most video game series managed to produce during 10 iterations. Visually, acoustically, and in terms of gameplay, this is arcade at its best, and one of the best games coming out this year. Loot Level Chill gave it a 95, saying Denshattack is as compelling as it is ridiculous, with so many mechanics to master, so many rails to grind, and so many trains to flip. And I think that was the most interesting thing, is it looks like a game like no other game I've ever seen. So I am going to check this one out. I think otherwise, I think it's like a $20 game if you don't have Game Pass or something. So it's not even, oh, here's a full price $70 game or something. It's quite approachable from the price point as well. So this is something I'll keep on my radar, and when I get a chance to play it, I will. There's a few other things I'm actually going through right now that I'm pretty excited to be able to talk about, I don't know, a week or so from here. Also, a very odd situation popped up with Xbox and Game Pass when it comes to a first-party title. That's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, as it was removed from the coming soon section for Game Pass. It was actually supposed to be going into the service this month, and when it disappeared, everyone was trying to figure out what happened. Well, Microsoft did respond, we can see. Now, this is over on Playday.1. And the response here from Activision PR was, we're continuing to work through the necessary licensor approvals for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. We'll share an update as soon as we have one. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 is still available on Game Pass. Thanks for your patience. Licensing. That's one of the big enemies of the streaming or digital future, as games tend to disappear or just get pulled down from subscription services, even in this case, before it even got there completely. It was advertised ahead of it of course showing up this month, and then they had to pull it back, as I guess there's, I would assume, some sort of music, like a track or something in the game that they have to figure out. Although I guess it could be likenesses as well. I mean, I would assume it's something to do with the music in the game. So no word on when they'll have that worked out and when it will go into Game Pass, but just another thing to consider, again, with the all-digital future becoming the all-digital present. Oh, and you're not going to believe this. Turns out Sony wants more Horizon. This we can see over on Wiicompiled with their official account, saying Sony Animation explored Horizon Zero Dawn animated series. The project remained in development even after the theatrical film plans emerged, though its current status and any connection to the previously announced live-action series remain unclear. Well, it's Sony and it's Horizon, so I assume it's coming out. Man, Sony really likes Horizon, and it's fine. I mean, I'm more interested now to wrap up the trilogy after Horizon Zero Dawn and then Forbidden West. We're waiting for that third one to come up, but they have like Hunter's Gathering coming out, and again, the theatrical stuff that was being talked about, and now an animated series. It's just, they really like Horizon, and that probably, I think, has to do with, of course, Herman Holst kind of calling the shots there when it comes to first-party software. But I do have concerns about them running it into the ground if they haven't already for many people. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Microsoft, but it's kind of Microsoft and Sony, because I have seen instances of this from either company. And in fact, I think even just outside of gaming, this tends to happen, and people will lose an account and then they just don't really have any outlet to make a big deal about it, and they just kind of move on from there. All right, so I think there are probably many people even watching this who have gone through something similar, maybe not to the degree of losing upwards of 25 years of purchase history or files, but still maybe some kind of account that's linked to a subscription service or something else. So with that in mind, going towards what seems to be the PlayStation 6 and Xbox Helix, where it will be all digital, we believe, and heavily reliant on a singular account, it does make you think a bit more about the current approach that's implemented. So we can see, now this is over on Twitter from Joshua Kane, and I had covered this in a video the other day that really dove into this, but essentially, their account that's linked to like their Xbox or OneDrive, there was an issue with security. It was compromised. The person who broke into the account did changed up some things, recovery details, I guess two-factor authentication, turned that off. It's a pretty common practice when people get access to your account with that, unauthorized access. And instead of Microsoft, I guess, giving it back to the person after they went through all kinds of links to prove that they are indeed who they say they are, they decided to just indefinitely suspend the account, even going as far as to say that they can't get it back, like they have no access to do so. The person went to social media, of course, here. That message that they put out, the tweet, it accumulated more than 5 million views. And I mean, it went absolutely crazy. People were commenting on it. All kinds of outlets picked it up. So what happens then? Because keep in mind, Microsoft says they can't get the account back. Well, Xbox support comes in and says, we're sorry this happened. It's not the experience we want anyone to have when their account is compromised. We have been working to restore access to your purchases and reached out with the next steps. Please check your voicemail or inbox. So the obvious thing here is if the person wasn't able to go to social media and it make the rounds and go semi-viral, it probably wouldn't have had Xbox support dropping by and saying, oh, maybe we can help work this out with you. Then seems to be how it goes. If you want to get your account back, or there's something that's happened in the case of Colin with his PlayStation account, you got to go online and make a big stink about it. That's the thing. You have to put a lot of eyes on it right now, and then eventually it seems like you'll either have Xbox or PlayStation show up and work with you in an expedited fashion to get it done. And it's not even just them. I've noticed this on social media a lot, where someone will have a bad experience at a retail store or a restaurant or a delivery service. They go online about it, and then, support shows up in the mentions or whatever, and I guess they DM and work it out there. This, though, is particularly concerning because Microsoft seemed to say in the message they sent originally, they weren't able to get anything back, but here comes Xbox, and I guess they can at least restore purchases. And why would they have to restore purchases? Well, it's linked to that account, and that's the thing that really blows my mind right now about the push into this all digital landscape, this marketplace for these systems, because it is completely reliant on an account with I mean, you'd say decades of history, purchases linked to where if it gets banned, or if it does get compromised through security issues and is stolen, all of your information, all of your purchases are gone, your games, everything. Whereas, yeah, the thing with physical is if you lost that account, yeah, it's not great, it's not ideal, but if all your games are physical, you can make a new account, pop those discs in, and then reinstall them. If indeed these companies, especially Microsoft and Sony, want to have all digital because it's better on their bottom line, they have to invest and figure out a way to make it so that these digital purchases mirror all the ownership and consumer rights that these physical games have, okay? So if you buy a digital game, it's not linked to an account. You can put it on a flash drive if you want and walk around with it. I think that's perfectly fair because guess what? You can take the disc out of the system and walk around with it. So that's what they really need to figure out. I don't know what the technology answer is there, for actually working that out, but I'm also not the one who's going, hey, let's all digital now. They would have to be the ones figured out. Technically, GOG allows you to just burn a game if you want, and I've seen so many people ask about that. I might do a video and we'll just try to do it. I have actually not attempted that, but it sounds like fun. Maybe we can even find box art and print up a couple of them, make a nice little physical collection of DVDs for PC games. So let me know if that's something you want to see down below in the comments, and maybe work to putting that together maybe over the weekend. We'll see. Next up, let's talk about the Switch 2 and a big holiday game. At least I I feel like it's still a big holiday game because we haven't heard anything else about it, and that's the Duskbloods from FromSoft, and apparently this game has been in development for quite some time. It's like 6+ years, and it sounds like they've been doing a lot of work on like the stability and quality, and because this is going to be multiplayer heavy as well. And in fact, there is a network test that's happening, which we already knew about, but now we have the exact timing for that. We can see this is over on the Duskbloods official account saying we will be hosting a network test for the Duskbloods on Nintendo Switch 2 from August 21st, that's a Friday, through August 24th on Monday. So we'll get a whole weekend out of this thing. Participant registration will begin on July 22nd, that's a Wednesday. To all prospective Bloodsworn, there we go, we eagerly await your participation in the coming Dusk battles. All right, now, they then followed up, and we have our network test dates and times. Okay, so again, the 21st of August through the 24th, and they have the times on the right, and, you know, I was looking at it, like, man, it's kind of annoying to read the way they have it set up here. But it looks like, what do we have? 3 a.m. Pacific time to 7 a.m. Pacific time. So aiming for, I guess, the morning crowd on that one, and then the late night crowd on the other side, where that's, what's that, 7 p.m. Pacific, and that'll go up to 11 p.m. Pacific time. So that'd be interesting there. And then we move again to the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th with varying times. I am going to get in on this, okay? So by the 22nd, I'll be signing up, and I'll try to do a couple of sessions here with this. It's just, it would have been better if they just said a whole weekend. Like, just jump on and play it for the 21st, the 24th, or what have you there. Much better than trying to fit into these windows. I understand on their end, they want to try to condense traffic as much as possible to stress these servers. Like, hey, you can sign up, and then everyone's just going to funnel in and kind of try to break our systems or the network, and then we have data to go on for what I guess is still supposed to be a holiday release. And it's odd because, so with Nintendo, their two big releases for this holiday season. It is the Duskbloods because it's FromSoft, and FromSoft is at an all-time high right now. They've been releasing some big-time games. Elden Ring, obviously, still fresh in people's minds right now. Sold very well, and people are now looking like, oh, wow, okay, this is the next big FromSoft game, and it's on the Switch too. All right, and then the other one is Ocarina of Time Remake. All right, so we have these two games. We're halfway through July, and we really haven't seen much about either of these games. And they're both supposed to be coming out, I think, in the next 4 months, like minimum. So the Duskbloods, I kind of think is an October release. That makes a lot of sense, kind of that Halloween theme. And then I assume Ocarina of Time is coming out probably the same week as Grand Theft Auto 6, or really in the first half of November. And that'll be a pretty big 1-2 punch for Nintendo, who is, I think, been quietly working up to having a pretty good second half of 2026. And they'll probably have some kind of direct, I'm sure, in September. Although, what if they did a Zelda-specific direct? Like for like the anniversary, and probably a trailer for the movie, the merchandise. Here's Ocarina of Time information. And then they just did a full-on direct for the Duskbloods. I think this is a game that should have that because of how big it should be, and I think how much of a system seller it will end up being this holiday season. So if nothing else, I guess sign up for the network test. Again, the signups will open on July 22nd, and then look towards the third week, that weekend in August, to actually try the game out. Next up, let's talk about PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. Sony put this information out there, immediately got bombarded with all kinds of comments, as you'd expect on social media. But I was looking through this, little shocked at the end. There's an extra game, you could say, thrown in there. So we'll go through all the different games they've announced, and they're doing this thing where it's like a staggered launch for these different games. I don't know. It's just, they used to just throw all the games out there immediately, but we'll go over it here. We can see at the top, this is for PlayStation Plus. We'll start with Extra. We have Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. That will be live globally July 21st. Rise of the Ronin, which, that's a good game. I enjoyed that one. It's kind of like a open world style, kind of like open world Neo style game, you can say, but it was a pretty enjoyable game there from Team Ninja. That is out, okay, July 15th in the US and UK, July 16th in Japan. And then we have Firefighting Simulator Ignite. That is available July 21st. Hey, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind. I enjoyed that one too. That's a good entry for the service. That's July 28th, just across the board. Dying Light. that is available July 28th. Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector, that is July 28th. Snow Bros Wonderland, very random to see that there, July 28th. Then we move into PlayStation Plus Premium. These would be our 2 classic games. We already know about PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy. I didn't see if there were trophies for this yet, but that was a really cool game back in the day on the PS2, that era. So that's one that I do recommend checking out. It is pretty cool. But then check this out. Indigo Prophecy. What? That is super random. I was not expecting to see that in here, but that is another one that's really cool. I mean, it's back in the, this is like old school Quantic Dream stuff here. So I have not played Indigo Prophecy in quite some time. Again, I'll be curious about maybe trophy support or anything like that. But that is available July 21st. Again, same day as PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy. Not a bad month, I would say, overall. I mean, there are games in there that people may have seen and been like, I don't know if I really want to pick that one up for full price. Avatar coming to mind, Rise of the Ronin even, or Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But I'm really curious about these 2 premium games, PsyOps and then Indigo Prophecy. Those would be the 2 that I'd be most interested, believe it or not, out of the bunch of games shown here. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a recompilation that's been announced, and it's coming from the Wii library. Now we can see this. This is over on social media from Patchz says, announcing Mario Kart Wiicompiled, the first static recompilation of a Wii game. It's Mario Kart Wii, rebuilt for PC. So it is basically getting ported over here to PC. It's releasing in beta this August. Next month, we'll see maybe a release timing on that then. And then online play, optional retro rewind support, and it brings over 200 tracks. Now I have a little trailer that's being shown here, and it's important to note with these recompilations. So the way that this works is you need to get the base game. All right. So you need to come up with your own ISO file or whatever with all the assets. And then you kind of load it up with this recompilation, the program that they release, and then it will function. So with that in mind, Nintendo technically can't do much to knock this down unless they find something in the code. And typically you kind of go online and see it at their GitHub or what have you. But it seems like this is pretty straightforward with other projects we've seen. And it's interesting them going now into, we're seeing these pop up in the Wii generation. We've seen it with GameCube already, which was pretty cool. But now just moving to Wii, there's a lot of stuff I'm sure people can think of there. And the online support, added tracks. This I think is going to be a lot of fun. It's already accumulated more than 4 million views. So we'll just have to see more information about this one because unfortunately, details pretty limited here, but apparently beta in August. So we have about a month or so before this one releases and see how it turns out. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, when do you think the Duskbloods is releasing for Switch 2? 59% think it's getting pushed to 2027. Uh-oh. Well, okay. All right. Well, we'll see what that. Interesting. Okay, so December is the next highest vote getter. You know what? That first week of December, it's kind of open. It is. Like they could get away with that. And then October, then November. I think November is prime real estate for Ocarina of Time, if I had to take a guess. October just seems to fit the mood of that game so well. But I also, again, wouldn't be shocked if it did show up and was like, you know what, guys, the network test, it was fine, but we think we have more stuff to figure out. We'll see you in 2027. And I go, you know what, that's FromSoft. Again, I think they have built up a lot of goodwill with their releases, and I think their fan base will understand. It's just that would be a big, again, 1-2 punch for Nintendo. You have the Duskbloods, big new FromSoft game, and then Ocarina of Time getting like fully remade, reimagined, what have you, on the Switch 2, like the highest rated game of all time. That'd be a pretty impressive way to close out 2026 for the system. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as we're seeing here. This is from Michael, who says, I love that the Switch 2 is forcing devs to actually optimize their games. Okay, so I do like that it's having devs optimize more to get the game on the system. And we saw this with the Switch 1, but we also saw games where it seemed like, oh, well, they're going to have to do some crazy tricks or really optimize and shrink the game down on the Switch 1. And then it comes out and it just barely functions, or it's just a terrible port. And we saw that a lot with the Switch 1. WWE 2K18 still have like vivid flashback memories of that game. And it seemed like towards the end of the generation, as you'd expect, developers started to get better with the hardware and figure things out, little porting tricks here and there. So maybe that carries over to a more capable Switch 2 system, but Capcom has kind of been on a roll with RE Engine. It's adapted well to the platform. I just would like to see more and more developers kind of follow along with what Capcom's done here. Unfortunately, not every studio has their, or even publisher has their own RE engine, that they can tap. So hopefully, if nothing else, as these games get moved over more and more to Switch 2, that's not as limited, we'll say, as the Switch 1, we do see optimization similar to Dragon's Dogma 2 in the future. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear about how Sony could maybe have some different plans than people are expecting for the PlayStation 6. I did a video kind of going over that, and I'll leave it right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.